Frank Roach, HITRANS. HITRANS is the regional transport partnership that covers those well-afforested areas of Orkney and the Western Isles, and as well as Murray, Argyll and Bute and Highland Council. I'm glad to see a bit of thinning's taken place already, so it's good to show this, woodland management is working well here at the moment. I'll try not to stop anybody leaving while I'm speaking, so please feel free to go. Would you use rail is a piece of research that was carried out by me at the request of the Forestry Commission. Cabinet Secretary Fergus Ewing was particularly interested in finding out whether you guys were interested in rail, and so I contacted all sorts of people and tried to draw together some common themes. Just to remind you, currently what moves on rail, Kronospan feed Chirk by rail from Carlisle. OSB, as Kevin mentioned, goes from Norboard each day, and of course we'll be looking for further output to be going by rail, hopefully on a second service when that comes about. And BSW also moves some small amounts via Ferguson's to Grangemouth. I think that's still going on, is it not, Ali? Yes, thank you. At the background of this, remember Network Rail, who everybody hates, have actually been given a target by Scottish Government to raise the amount of rail freight in Scotland by 7.5% between 2019 and 2024, and a significant amount of that has to be new business, not just traffic pinched from somebody else. So, survey was conducted by me last month. Interviews focused on catchment, destination and perceived barriers. I have to say there was no evidence gathering involving Cambridge Analytica whatsoever, so feel free, it's, all your secrets are safe. So we looked at the supply side, and supply is an issue that was reiterated time and time again to me. Rail may be able to get hard to access timber, and also we talked about finished product. There's a whole variety of different products there, some of which may be able to move by rail. So, 16 respondents, quite detailed telephone interviews, and I have to say thank you very much to everybody that did give me their time. It was really invaluable, and I was surprised actually at what a pleasant reception, because I thought me kind of cold calling people, I'd get some people who were a bit cheesed off, but no. Everybody on my railability scale rated high or medium as to whether their products could get onto rail. Only 2 featured as on low, and one of those actually said, well, if you do get some product on rail, that might mean that I can get a shot at getting more local timber into my processing plant. And currently 7 companies that I contacted do use rail in one form or another. So, barriers. Okay, rail seen as high cost, specialist infrastructure, specialist rolling stock. There's a double handling issue. It's seen as green, but nobody actually wants to pay for it. Greens are nice to have, but if it costs 20 pence a tonne more, no thanks. Rail operators don't really market their services very well. Tell me about it. This is a real problem. Network Rail's not seen as terribly proactive. They often seem very enthusiastic at the start, but then barriers and costs start appearing. And a bit like any other public utility, there are rules of engagement, and at some point the cash register starts clocking up when you require to have meetings with them. Rail needs long-term commitments. People need a long payback time for investing in not only rail infrastructure, but also the wagons and also drivers. It takes a year to train up a train driver. This is a long, drawn-out process. It can't do what the timber truck does and just moves, oh, quick, production's just finished here, we'll shift over to the other side of the country in half a day. Rail does not have that ability to be fleet of foot. And lastly, remember, most plants aren't rail connected. 1 or 2 are, great. 1 or 2, I hope, will be. Looking at Kevin over there. But there is definitely a requirement to educate the forestry industry on where facilities are and where they might be in the future. So, solutions. Back to the long-term thing. We need sufficiently long-term arrangements so that a rail operator can get guaranteed traffic. We probably need a template for creating new terminals and new railheads. Okay, mentioned Kimbrace, there is that template of Kimbrace. Some of that knowledge will be applied to Ranach when hopefully that comes off. Timber hubs could be operated by third parties so that timber companies don't take the full liability and risk. If we can get people to work together cooperatively, then they might be able to use railheads that are provided by, maybe even funded through Network Rail and Transport Scotland. But certainly the third party element is seen as key. There is a lack of data that is apparent, and I think we need a much faster move to open data so people know what's moving around, which for some people is seen to be very anti-competitive, so that you can get proper planning. As I said, freight needs long-term planning. We need to know what material is moving, what year, from where, so that resources can be allocated accordingly. We need a bit more marketing from Network Rail and terminal owners so that they actually go out and win new business. And lastly, some joint working with other sectors. So at the moment, Norboard traffic travels by rail because of an arrangement with the Tesco Stobart operation, which works extremely well. So, some next steps. Right, we need information on the network. Lots of people, Mick Bottomley said, I know where the roads are, but I don't really know where the railway lines are. We need to detail existing and potential terminals. There's quite a few mothball terminals that people don't really know about that could be reactivated at fairly low cost. And I'm thinking of the pioneering work of Colas, getting Ribblehead back up, using Heathfield down in Exeter to feed Kronospan at Chirk. We need to explore interest in timber hubs operated by third parties. Back to the data thing, we need to get hold of data, get rail companies to be more proactive, and finally, develop new ways of working. So, what am I going to do? Well, I'm intending to organise some meetings with rail freight operators to tell them what the industry has said. I'm proposing to start cataloguing existing and dormant facilities that could be used for timber, identify those terminals that can be reactivated, and look at the potential for new hub opportunities. And there are some obvious cases. Ayrshire, there are no rail facilities for timber at the moment in use, although of course there's a supply of slurry into Cali paper. West Highlands, Inverness area, and these could generate enough traffic to support a viable rail freight service. Rail freight is a bit of an arcane science, and I'm glad really, because otherwise I wouldn't be standing here having a job if everybody understood it. But there is a requirement, I think, to try and demythify it and make it more understandable to the forestry sector. Thank you very much.